Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce our group. Our group's name is Agra Cadabra, and our members are Yusri Fajri, Annur, Gulaman, Zakian, Dimas, ilham, trisnawan, Diki Wahyudi, and last, me, myself, Adesti, Anggita, Putri. Our group will present our books review on our reading circle video. So this reading circle will begin with by Yusri Fajri, Annur. To Yusri, please, time is yours.
Thank you, Adesti. Okay, in this moment, in this reading circle, I want to tell you about my book. The title of my book is Can't Hurt Me, Master Your Mind and Defy the Odds. This book is written by David Goggins, and he is the main character in this book. So the genre of this book is autobiography, health, fitness, and dieting. This book is first published on December 4th, 2018, and this book have 364 pages. Of the level of difficulty of this book, I'm not sure, but I will tell it's like quite easy because it's easy to understand and the plot of the story was clear. So without further ado, I just give you a little bit view about this book. So for David Goggins, childhood was a nightmare. Poverty, prejudice, and physical abuse colored his days and haunted his night. But through self-discipline, mental toughness, and hard work, Goggins transformed himself from a depressed, overweight young man with no future into a U.S. Armed Force icon and one of the world's top endurance athletes. The only man in the history to complete elite training as a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller. He went on to set records in numerous endurance events, inspiring Outside magazine to name him the fittest real man in the America. In this book, in Can Hurt, he shares his astonishing life story and reveals that most of us tap into only 40% of our capabilities. Goggins calls this the 40% rule, and his story illuminates a path that anyone can follow to push past pain, demolish fear, and reach their full potential. So that's the little bit about this book. I hope that can be give you persuasion you to read this book in the future. And I think that's it. If you have any questions about this book, yeah, you can feel free to ask. Thank you.
Okay, that's all. Reading by Yusri. If there is any question, please unmute.
Okay, I have a question, Yus.
Sure.
Okay, my name is Dimas. My question is why you choose to read the autobiography books rather than another genre like romance or fiction?
Thank you, Dimas. That's a great question. I prefer to read the non-fictional book because I don't know, I just don't like to wasting my time with the fiction, because I think that when we read the book, we learn something. But when we read the fiction one, that will be, we can read them. The most of them is, you know, not really about to learning. So I prefer to read the self-improvement book, and that's very helpful for me to improve myself actually. And I have another books like Atomic Habits. That's the next book that I will read. But for fictional story, I really do enjoy film or fictional movie, anime, and something like that. But I don't prefer to read like in the book form. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yus.
Is there any question?
All right. I have a question for the Yusri. And I want to say to Adesti, your signal is unstable. Make your voice is noise. Make your voice is All right. My question is, what do you feel after read the book autobiography, and what the effect for your life? Thank you.
Thank you, Gulaman. Thank you for your question. I actually feel that after I read this book, I feel myself, you know, a little bit a lazy person, and always wasting my time doing the not the best interest of me. And I discovering that I will be better man. I will be better person if I learn more, if I exercise more. And after read this book, I just get motivated, because in this book we just not get you know, motivational story, but there are challenges that we can do. So um, after read this book, I actually feel good for myself, and so I still try to applying the tips and tricks in this book to my daily life. Thank you, Gulaman.
Okay, thank you, Gulaman, for the question. And I think I have a last question for Yusri. Uh, is there a sentences from your book that must be remembered?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Adesti. That's really good, really great question. Of course, that's still words that uh, hanging in my head about the books. There are some sentences like the when he, you know, becoming the fittest or the strongest man in America. Um, he never thought that he can do that. You know, that it is really impossible. But what if he can? What if? What if? Just that just that word. We actually overthinking about everything, and we're not doing anything about it. But we're not thinking that what our plan, how but our plan is just, you know, um really great. I mean, it's actually worth it. I mean, when you have dreams and that come true, what if just that simple? So this book is actually give me new side of I don't know, um purposes in life, so we not just get overthinking about everything, but just do it what we have to do in our best interest. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all. The turn of Yusri. Next, okay, that's all presentation by Yusri. Now it's my turn, Adesti Anggita Putri. My books is Dear Evan Hansen novel. This book was written by Paul Emich and Stephen Levinson. This book was published on 3rd October 2018. This book had 324 pages. The level difficulties of this book, I think personally, it's not really difficult for teenagers like high school students level, because the vocabularies is easier to understand, to know. Even I still found some of new vocabs, but don't worry, you can just keep going to finish your reading. This novel is told us the story about Evan Hansen. Evan Hansen is an anxiety, introvert, and friendless high school student. His parents was getting divorced, and so he is a broken home child. He has a mental health illness for anxiety disorder. His story was started when he wrote a letter, and the letter was stolen by a conner, his schoolmate. But the tragedy was starting from that scenes, because unpredictable, Conor Murvis was dead by suicide himself. So when Connor's parents knew that the death of his son, so they found the letter, and they trusted that Evans and Connors was best friends. So the story is really started from that. No longer tangled in his once in capacitating anxiety, this new event has a purpose, and he how to say that, continue about the Cannes project, about the filming projects. So even felt like have a new life. Every day is so amazing until everything is in danger of unraveling, and he comes face to face with his greatest obstacle by himself. A simple light about the fact Ivan and Connors was best friend is being complicated truths, and in this big hearted coming of age story of great authenticity and the struggle to belong in an age of instant connectivity and profound isolation. So in my private opinion, Dear Evan Hansen is really must read by anyone who's struggling with their mental health illness, or anyone who feel like lost in their own heads. So this book is highly recommended. Actually this novel has a movie version, but I decided myself to read the novel version first, because I really want to know what it actually means about Evan Hansen's story. And also the most sentences that I always love in this novel is everything is gonna be happened Just remember that you will be found. Thank you. If there's any question from others members, just unmute yourself.
I have a question for Adesti.
Okay, Diki.
Is there Ivan Hansen novel about a depression?
Okay, let me answer the question. Yes, this novel is about a depression of a young man, but actually it's related caused by anxiety disorder. So even feel anxiety over about everything that happened in his life, like his mother and his father was getting divorced, like nobody was wanna be his friends and something like that. But until one day, Iwan found a new life that make him feel, oh, this is amazing life. Uh, because the talk of even saying that it's really amazing life, so he started a lies, and the lies is become bigger and bigger, so that.
Okay, thank you Adesti for the
Okay,
answer.
okay, thank you. Any question, guys? If it's not so, we will continue our presenter. The next is Diki Wahyudi. To Diki, please, time is yours.
Okay, the title of my book is Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet. The writer is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Number of pages is 132 pages. This novel first published on 87. Level of difficulty. Not really easy to understand. There are a lot of words that I don't understand. I often open dictionary to enjoy the story. I always find more than 10 new words vocabulary every chapter. I highly recommend this book only to college students. This book is about Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes uses a setting in a city of London in 19th centuries, where in this era, novel was written by Sir Arthur from a third-person point of view, where the third person referred to here is Dr. Watson, a doctor who had just returned from the war in Afghanistan and was looking for a place to live in England. When he arrived in London, he met one of his friends who then introduced him to the main character in this novel, namely Sherlock Holmes, who was also looking for a place to live. It was a coincidence for Dr. Watson who Holmes invited as a new friend to share an apartment. Long story, they found a suitable place to live on the Baker Street. They end up both living in the apartment on Baker Street with number 221B. Okay, that's all from me. Is there any question?
Okay, if there are any question, please unmute yourself.
Okay, I have a question for Diki. My question is, would you recommend other people to read this novel based on your experience read this novel? Thank you, Diki.
Yes, but not everyone. I recommend this novel for a college and high school student because there are many words that I just knew from this book. I often open dictionary to understand the story. So I recommend, but not to everyone. Okay, Dimas.
Okay, thank you, Diki. Let me ask you a question. What actually case of the main characters want to solve in this novel?
I haven't read the whole book, so I already find one case. The case, namely the murder of Reber, whose body was found in abandoned house at Lauriston Garden. Three injuries were found on the victim's body. Holmes suspect that the victim died from poison. Eh, that's
Okay, thank you, Diki. I think that's all the presentation from Diki. The next presentation is Dimas Ilham Trisnawan. The Dimas, please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ades. I read a book this book, a novel. The title is "We Have Always Lived in the Castle." The author of this novel is Shirley Jackson. Genre of this novel is horror fiction, thriller, gothic fiction, mystery, and psychological fiction. First published was on September 21, 1962. The total pages of this novel around 135 pages. Reaction and my personal comments. I think the book is good. The story is great, even just a little short. Uh, the story told from misanthropic's point of view, it makes this book interesting. The background of the story, the strange dynamic between the house and the village, and the consequences of a few actions that occur in the novel are mysteries that stay with me throughout the reading. I also recommend you to read this novel because using pretty language and creepy atmosphere and makes you wondering while read chapter per chapter. Level difficulty for me, I think it's 6 per 10 because I always found some new vocabulary in every chapter that I read. But it is not that hard to read. If I read full of the sentences, I can guess the meaning of that word. For setting place, I can feel the aura of the village and also Blackwood's house. It's so dark and quiet because they live in isolation. Just three members in the big house. The ending of the book. The ending of this story revealed that actually Constance never committed any crime, and the person behind the arson accident 6 years ago was Mary Cat, the narrator in this story. The reason Mary Cat poisoned her family was because their father abusing Constance and herself, and why Mary Cat also hate Charles, their cousin, who appear in the middle of the story is because he reminds about her father and want to get profit from them. At the end, Mary-Cat and Constance live happily together in their burned house. Some villagers trying to help them, but they refuse. They always accept the food or anything from villager who put the food in front of their door. But Mary Cat takes that food when the sky gets dark. She never meet the villagers directly. They are happy live in isolation now. Maybe that's all. If you have any question, please ask to me.
Okay, everyone, is there any question for Dimas? Just please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Maybe me, I would to ask some question to Dimas. Okay. In your book, who is your favorite characters and why? Why you like that character? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yusri. For me, I think Mary Cat, the narrator in this story, because though she is just 18 during the event she described, she often acts much younger, smashing things when she is upset and getting lost in her reveries of living on the moon. And for me, the interesting because she likes to bury objects all over the Blackwood property as safeguards.
Okay, any question?
All right, I have a question too for the Dimas. Dimas, what is the main conflict in We Have Always Lived in the Castle?
Okay, thank you, Gulaman. The main conflict in this novel, we have always lived in the castle, revolves around the siblings' love for their home and their cousin Charles' desire to profit from it. That's it. Another question,
Okay.
guys?
Is there any question?
Maybe
If
no.
there is not question again, so we will continue the next presenter is Gulaman Zakian. To Gulaman, please, time is yours.
All right, this is my turn. Okay, my books it the same title with Diki, but the different series. My title book is Sherlock Holmes with the Sign of the Four. The author is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and with the genre this novel is fiction, mystery, thriller, and psychologist. With total page 125. For the level of difficult in this book, I cannot choose the level, but in my opinion, this book is simple. But in the last chapter, the story feel hardly from the then chapter before. All right, let me summary my book. This book set in 1888. This sign of the four has a complex plot involving service in India, the India mutiny of 1857, a stolen treasure and the secret pact among for the conflict. Like Sam the title, the four, and to core prison guard. At present, the homeless a drug habit for get the humanist in him way that had not been done in the preceding novel. Yeah, preceding novel like Diki Wahyudi read, because the Diki is the first series book from the Sir Arthur. According, all right, let me in the story. According to the Mari, in the December 1878, her father had a telegraph her upon his safe return from the Indian and request her to meet him at the Lougham Hotel in the London. When the Mary arrived at the hotel, she was told her father had gone off the previous night and not returned despite all effort. No trace was ever found of him. Mary contracted her father's only friend, who was in the same regiment and had a science returned to England. Okay, the conflict is in this book is the father of Mary have had the treasure like jewelry, and he uh, and he was like simpan. I don't know what simpan, but like itu, and they have 66 inspect to guard and for the jailer who wants take the treasure from Mary's father. And the main conflict in this book, Sherlock Holmes and the assistant detective Dr. Watson and the mayor and the Mary going to the island who was have the treasure from the father's Mary. And in this conflict, he was get a in the conflict, they have one murdered and one die from the inspect right there. Okay, from the last page, the Mary's fathers falling in love with the Sherlock Holmes, but Sherlock Holmes cannot accept the love from the Marys. Okay, this novel have a romantical story, mystery story, and many conflict with the different side opinion. Thank you. Any have question?
Okay, is there any question? If you have a question, please unmute yourself. Okay, Gulaman, I think I have a question for you. Is there any favorite sentence that make you want to share with us?
My favorite sentence is in the back of novel. It's like idiom. The sentence is the emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear reasoning. This meaning is antagonists have the humanities too, but in the emotional for the a greedy, it was make you feel like a villain in the, it's feel like a villain in the story. Emotional is make the human be human, something like that. And in first page, it was introduced the detective not have emotional and humanist, but in the end of this novel, the detective Sherlock Holmes is now the real meaning of humanities and the meaning of emotional. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gulaman, for the answers. How about others? Is there any question?
Maybe I have a question for Gulaman, Zakian. I'm actually not, I mean, not yet read the Sherlock Holmes book, but I have watched the movie. So do you have watched the movie? Is there any different story from the book and the story in the movies? So that I will be, interested to read the books. Thank you.
All right. Want to say sorry for the Yusri. The novel from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle have 4 series. Series 1 is The Scarlet of Study, like Diki reading, and me, The Side of Fall. And for your information, the series from 2 novel first and second, they have no film for make it, but in series 3 and 4 have a film. And it was I addicted for Sherlock Holmes novel. It was very different from the book and the film. In the film, it was so imagination from the sutradara, and it was many editing. For example, in the film, the main character Sherlock Holmes have the 5 sense, like 5 sense. You can see a ghost, or you can know what the inspect is thing. In the novel, he's not have the 5 sense. If like a real time, not fiction, something like that. Thank you.
Okay, how about others? Is there still any question? Okay, if there is not question anymore, so thank you Gulaman as the last participants for presenting our reading circle. That's all the presentation from Agra Cadabra group about the reading circle. Thank you for the time and happy watching this video. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you all.